Welcome to Steel Beam Rally Team, I'm Tyler. This episode is sponsored by my love for weird obscure cars. I got this from a rally friend. Her dad bought it brand new in 1973 and it's been a one-owner car its whole life till I got it. Been sitting for 37 years. Let's see if we can get it running. Let's take a look around this thing. First thing is we see the license plate is hanging by one bolt, 1987 Minnesota. We have the whole bonnet is kind of loose here. We have old SCCA stickers. This is something that I'm actually a member of the Land O'Lakes SCCA, so it's really cool to see these from like the 70s, I think. We have pretty good taillight lenses back here and a cool CB radio antenna. I believe all four center caps are here. So overall, this thing is pretty much identical to my Burgundy 73 named Ingrid. And the cool thing is that Ingrid is number 413 of 1973. This is number 501, so they're like 80 VINs off, which is pretty awesome. Since the bonnet is already unhooked, we can actually take this off real quick and get to the engine easier. Jeez. Let's see what we got here. This thing is ridiculously rusty and corroded everywhere. It's got a bunch of mouse poop stuff there. The headlight relays are all rusted through, corroded through. This is not supposed to be rusted through. The fan is pretty chewed up here. And yeah, everything's gross. Let's pull the dipstick. Has oil. It has no air cleaner, so I'm not sure if there's going to be any chance of this thing being resurrected. I'm going to probably pull this off and see if I can fix it. And the distributor actually came out to go into my car when my rebuilt distributor failed. So I know the one that came out of this worked, so that's a good sign. Otherwise, what do you think?
I think she's really crusty. Does it turn over? Did you try?
I have not tried. The radiator is also missing, and I think that came with the car somewhere. This came with a few parts.
I like the gas hose.
Oh, that's nice. Braided. Huh. And braided coolant hose too. Not braided, but it's like a textured thing. Weird. Maybe that's original. Throttle doesn't work. Oh, the cap says Ford on it. Oh, that's nice. Mallory wires. I mean, this is kind of a race car. He autocrossed it. I think that's an upgraded coil. Without further ado, let's pop the spark plugs out. We got champions. Oh, that came out easy. Number one. It's got some moisture on it. Some rust right on the tip there on the electrode. What's behind cylinder number 4? No moisture. Looks like it was probably running okay. Cylinder 2. Same. No moisture, looks fine. On to the dreaded cylinder number 1. I have my Saab corn cob pipe here. Should be able to get on there. Same deal. Looks like there's a little gunk on the top. I wonder if that's a deposit, but otherwise no moisture in there and looking pretty good. I don't think I have any chance of showing you inside the cylinder, but I'm going to take a look here, and the threads themselves are kind of got some rust on them. Can't see anything else in there, but my boss sold me an old borescope. Let's try that out. Now this isn't ideal because it doesn't actually have a light on it. The light is broken, but I might be able to see in the cylinder a little bit. The sides of the cylinder look pretty rusty with surface rust. The top of the piston looks like it's got some corrosion on it, some kind of grimy gunk on it, but I don't see any ridge of rust. There's no liquid in there, so I think we might be able to free it up. This car was stored in a Minneapolis garage, so there wasn't any water necessarily dripping on it, but it did see a lot of Minnesota humidity in the summer. I got a mixture of ATF and Marble mystery oil. This is a 60 degree V4. It was later expanded into a 60 degree V6, so it is not the 45 degree that you're normally seeing with the V8s and stuff. Number 4 must be up top because there's not much going in there. Since number 4 is up top, number 1 should be as well. Alright, they're all full of the ATF mystery oil combination. I'm going to throw some roadworthy tires on this thing and we'll put it on the ground. Should be able to rock the car back and forth then and get it broken free. I got this thing down on my summer tires and it rolls, but it's in neutral. So we have to put this in gear to try to turn this engine over. Problem is, when I picked the car up, I didn't realize that the doors were locked from the inside, and I shut the doors, and now the doors are locked. So, thankfully at the time the hatch was open. I stuck something in the hatch so it didn't latch. So we have to climb in through the hatch to open the door, and then we can put it in gear and hopefully get this engine unlocked. Keep an eye on this red fan here and see if this thing will turn over. Why is it not? It's hitting something, isn't it? I think it's in gear. Why is it rolling freely? Oh, it's got the freewheel on. I didn't realize because my car has it removed, but this one still has the original V4 freewheeling transmission. That was a Saab holdover from the two-stroke days, so that when you were going down, like, say, a long descent and you take your foot off the gas, that it won't starve the engine for oil. It'll keep lubricating the engine. So these ones have it. It was kind of sold as a fuel economy measure, but whatever. It's not very fun for spirited driving. So what's happening is I can push this forward, it'll freewheel, and then when I pull it back, it'll hit against the engine. So I gotta turn the freewheeling off here so I can rock it back and forth in fourth gear. And we are right behind the engine right now. This is the distributor hole right here, and this is the freewheeling mechanism. So I'm gonna push that there. Inside the car, that's gonna look like a little T-handle hood latch release. It's in the driver's wheel well on the firewall. Guess I forgot to hit record. I'm sorry about that. I popped the belt off here. It's been sitting there a long time. Actually, it's like this. The water pump is seized. The alternator spins, the fan spins, and the balance shaft pulley doesn't move. So there is no bolt for the crankshaft up here. It is kind of hidden behind the timing cover. So we have to basically roll the car in gear to get it to move. I've been doing that for a little bit. Has not been working, but I'll show you real quick. It's in fourth gear. Yeah, you can hear that. That's 160 treadwear tires sliding on the ground. So I'm going to pull the valve covers off this thing. We'll take a look at the valve train. These Saabs have a German Ford engine and a Swedish chassis, so everything that's engine is metric and everything that's chassis is SAE. Everything else, like motor mounts, you just have to guess. Looks like the hose clamps are held together by cotter pins, which is something I haven't seen before. Isn't that weird? Ugh. Smells pretty bad too. I think they're all working. I'm trying to come up with ideas for breaking this engine loose, and I'm running out of them. So we took the belt off there, and we know the water pump was seized, so that wasn't going anywhere anyway. There is no crank pulley, and the balance shaft pulley, if you try to crank on the balance shaft pulley and it doesn't go anywhere, you might strip out the fiber timing gears. That's a bad thing to do. And I'm not aware of any easy access to the ring gear or flywheel because the starter is hard to get to, and there's not really a good access from the bottom anyway. So I think I'm left to just pushing this thing back and forth in fourth gear for a while, and if that doesn't work, I will have to pull the heads off. Not making progress. What a difference a day makes. And the difference is you. Actually, the difference is going to work and not thinking about this car all day. I've come back with a couple ideas I want to try before I pull the heads off and open that can of worms. The first one is I want to put a scope down in the cylinder holes again, especially cylinder 3 here, and see if that ATF and Marvel oil has actually got past the piston rings. And if it has, I might be able to keep filling it and going through. Another thing I want to try, and this is just kind of off the wall, but I already have the distributor out. I could drive the oil pump through that hole and get some oil up on the bottom side of things. In case there's anything on the bottom that needs to be lubricated, probably get some oil through the crankshaft and main bearings and all the stuff that generally needs oil. So that could help lubricate things, but let's poke our eyes in this hole first and see if there's anything of note. This is kind of stupid and pointless. Anyway, on with stupid and pointless, never stopped me before. And I cannot see anything at all in this thing. Yeah, because it's full of ATF and mystery oil still, so that thing definitely, there's nothing seeping past the rings in there. That's not a good sign. Let's go on with that distributor drive and we'll try to get the oil pump spinning, see if I can get some oil squirting out here. I think I got this set up right. We're going to try to not push anything into the crankcase. Alright. Now that's done. I got a 1/4 inch kind of socket screwdriver thing. I don't know what you call this thing. It's like a drill driver. And that goes down and engages with the oil pump drive. And then I can take this. I have a, what is this thing? 15/16 socket on a hex to 1/2 inch adapter going left. I just confirmed the oil pump does drive clockwise. We should see it dripping down here in places, although I'm also seeing debris here already that shouldn't be here. I wonder what that's from. Huh. Weird. I can see oil coming up down there. Interesting. Should be able to build oil pressure here. I'm seeing nothing. I must be missing something super obvious here because I'm spinning the oil pump in the direction that the distributor runs, and that should be pumping all the oil up. It seems like there's almost like a spring action where when I let go of the drive, it'll twist back a little bit, so it's kind of odd. I don't know if I want to actually pour new oil into this thing if I don't know if it's going to turn over, so I'm going to try some other stuff. I think at this point I have to bite the bullet and pull the head off, at least the driver's side head, because I think our number 3 cylinder is hung up. Hope I don't have to buy a new head gasket. Oh, that's nice for a fuel line. There we go. There we go. Oh, nice. Hang on. Ah. Of course. Ford branded thermostat. Keep track of these. I think they are all different lengths, but I'm not sure. One more that's under here. For no reason whatsoever. There we go. I did unhook the throttle linkage as well. There's a bunch of gunk on this thing. I'm gonna actually vacuum it up one more time because, especially in here, it's really nasty. All right. Okay. Didn't take a whole lot of effort. Throttle shaft in the way, exhaust donut falling down. Alright. What's interesting is that the owner had known he was putting this thing away for storage. As I understand from the story, his daughter, Kat, who I bought this car from, was getting too old to sit in the luggage compartment because her head was hitting the top of the hatch back there. So he actually disconnected the battery, pulled the battery out, and parked this thing intentionally in 1987. I'm not sure it moved much after that, but unfortunately he didn't seem to fog the cylinders or do any long-term engine preservation. I think if he would have done that, this might not be happening right now. We might be able to just turn it on, but that's what it is, you know. You live and learn, and I'm learning how to. What I would like to see if I found an engine, you know, honestly, if you just took this thing and filled it up to the very brim with oil when you parked it, just filled everything with oil, I think it would be fine once someone else would drain the oil out. But since everything was dry, then it gets all the moisture gets rusty in there. I'm starting to find a lot of debris in this thing. This spoon has probably been sitting in the kitchen drawer for 10 years. It's finally going to get some use. Look at that gunk. Can you see that? That was in the cylinder. Face of the cylinder is actually covered in this stuff. I wonder if that's rust that was dissolving on the mystery oil. Check this out. Somewhat surprisingly, the bottom of the piston here actually looks pretty clean. Didn't expect that. But that, ooh, what is, that's part of that plastic stuff I was finding. Wow. I want to see if I can get some of this scraped up a little bit. Not looking good. The cylinder wall is totally rusty. I'm not sure this thing is going to be able to turn, but we can try. Hey, you like the Sonett stuff? I do too. Problem is, I'm not sponsored for the Sonett stuff, so I gotta make some money otherwise. I got a special deal for you though. If you go to my website, clbmrally.team, Pick anything you want. Buy anything, buy one sticker. Put in the notes at the end that you watch the Green Sonnet video. I'll send you a special edition Will It Run sticker for just this Green Sonnet. This has different wheels than the Green Sonnet that I sell on the site, and this will never be for sale on the website. Go ahead, get a little. I could really use some extra money for this crap. I spend way too much money on these stupid cars. Anyway, SeaBeamRally.team. If you like to, go ahead. If you want to see extra merchandise on there that I don't have on there, let me know in the comments or email me or whatever. Thanks. Back to our scheduled programming here. I want to see if I can knock maybe this piston down. I'm hoping that it's less rusty underneath, and that if I get it down a little bit, this one will come up obviously, and I can hopefully clean up the edge of the cylinder wall here. So I'm going to try something. Is it doing anything? Okay, I can see by the way the oil kind of sprays back at me that this piston is free, it's moving. Now if I hit this one, that doesn't happen because the piston's not free. So I'm going to work around the edges here and try to just jostle a little bit, see if it'll do anything. If we can get this thing down far enough, maybe I can throw a hone on the cylinder. And I can't just drop the bottom out of this thing because you have to pull the entire drivetrain out of the chassis. To drop the oil pan even, you have to pull the whole drivetrain out. The way this is sitting right now, I'm not going to be able to get this thing free tonight. I'm going to pour some clean ATF and Mr. oil in here and let that soak overnight, probably into tomorrow. See in about 24 hours if it'll make any difference, basically. In the meantime, let's take a look at what we got here. The intake manifold is absolutely disgusting. On the bottom, oh god, that's just gross. Bottom it shows signs of maybe bad oil. I would say the oil looked really dirty at some point. At least from my view, I'm not sure, I don't know, but to me that does not look like it had a lot of oil changes or high quality oil at some point in its life. Here is the head. Again, it looks pretty dirty. Obviously the entire engine is covered in oil. The gunk all over this thing is really remarkable. It had must have had several significant oil leaks. On the bottom side, we can see our problem child cylinder here. Obviously quite a lot of debris in that even, so that might need a little cleanup with a wire wheel or something before I go to try to put it back in. I talked to some people on the Classic Saab page on Facebook, and they came to an interesting idea. Maybe the oil wasn't pumping up yesterday because the oil pump pickup screen was clogged. I didn't think about that for some reason, so there might be some sludge in there. What I'm going to do to figure that out is I've had a space heater on this thing for about 4 hours now to warm up any oil that's in the pan, any sludge that's in the pan. We're going to drop that sludge out and see what we get. The oil is warm, but it's probably about like 85 degrees. You know, that space heater didn't heat it up that much. pretty dark. A little bit of gunk in there. Yeah, there's some sludge. Well, there was quite a bit of sludge, not quite as much as I expected, but enough that I think, like, it could be causing somewhat of an issue. Definitely not the whole story, is it? I want to fill this thing up, but I don't want to fill it back up with oil again. I want to get something with a detergent in there that'll kind of help clean it out a little bit. I'm not going to run it like this, but I'm going to fill it up with ATF here and see if I can prime that oil pump again, see if I can get anything out of that. I do want to mention that the top of the dipstick is loose, so it is possible that this oil level could have been pretty low for a long time, because as you push it in, that top can allow the dipstick to go in further and indicate that maybe a quart low might have looked like it was full for potentially a long time. I was also going to pull the oil filter off. Let's go do that. What do we have here? Oil filter Robert Bosch. Neat. Compared to the Napa filter, it is quite a bit bigger. Alright, we're going to see if this thing will move any ATF up. I felt something touch, and we're getting ATF up through here. Excellent. I'm going to actually go like that. And we're getting it up the valve train too. That's excellent news. Let's continue here. I want to actually turn this for quite a while so it really works it through. Alright, I've just about filled this number 3 cylinder back up with oil or ATF. I am very happy with that. We've confirmed not only that the oil pump functions properly, but that the oil pump will pump fluid from the sump up to the top of the valve train. So, going forward with that, I see that there is quite a bit of lubrication in this number 3 cylinder. I'm going to go on with some wood blocks. Actually, I cut some wood here. My dad's got that sawmill now, so he's been cutting oak. And I think that a hardwood will be a better choice to hit that piston with than a softwood, because it should splinter off less and give me a more solid hit. Again, I'm going to try on number 3 here. Trying to move around the cylinder, do the top, bottom, front and back. Right and left, all that stuff. In case I can get part of one of the rings loose. It's obviously not turning. I've been hitting it. I think I'm going to have to pull the other cylinder head off, and we will hit this side, that side, this side, that side, so it's working on the same journal. On the crankshaft, should be more of a direct way to jostle this thing loose, if it'll just loose. I decided to check this out before I pulled everything off, and that's definitely working. That sounds a little stiff. That's definitely working. That's working. The exhaust valve on 2. Oh, there we go. Here's our cylinder head. We can see we have some gunk on the valves here. Kind of weird looking. Almost looks like brown paint. But that's gross. That valve is also nasty. These are the exhaust valves. They're Siamesed into one here, so intake, exhaust, exhaust. On the engine side, we actually look pretty good. This is got some carbon on it, but it's not rusty. The cylinder wall looks nice and shiny. Rust free, so I think we can start whacking on this thing, try to move them back and forth, and see if we can rock that crankshaft into turning. Oh, can you see that? It's starting to move. It's starting to move. Alright, so watch this little lip of clean metal around that edge. See, the piston came up. Now it should go back down. Don't hit my hand. Hit my hand watching this piston. Alright, so I'm going to push this thing down again. Sweet! Hell yeah! Super happy I got this thing free. Well, I've actually just moved. I wouldn't say it's free yet, but I got the rings unstuck from the walls. I got the piston down a little further. The one that was hung up is down a little further in the bore. There was not a whole lot of room left to go there, but I'm going to vacuum out these cylinders. I'm going to just get all that gunk and wood out of there. Then I'm going to fill it up with ATF again, and we'll let that soak down past the rings. I'm going to get a cylinder bore hone tool tomorrow at Napa. After I can get that cleaned up and just lightly hone to just get the rust off of there, I think it's time to take a full revolution around, and then we can start putting stuff back together. I did order a cylinder head, gasket, and intake kit from Ford V4 parts in Aberdeen, South Dakota. So that should come here to Minnesota in a couple days. The oil has not made its way past the rings yet, so it's not stuck, but it's also not free yet either. I've been talking to some people on the Saab restoration and preservation group on Facebook, and one of them recommended actually pulling the lifters out, make sure the lifters aren't stuck in there. I have no reason to believe they are, but apparently if the lifters stick down and stop the cam from rotating, and we rotate the rest of the engine, that can mess up the timing gears as well. Anyway, let's pop these lifters out if we can, and if not, pop them out, at least make sure they move. That one moves. That one moves. So we got two that move in the middle here. Moves. Doesn't move. Doesn't move. Doesn't move. Great. So we have 1, 2, and was it this one? 3 that move and are free, and I guess the rest are stuck. So that's something I'll have to. I think I'm gonna get the torch in there and try to give it a little heat, see if that'll loosen them up a little bit. Not quite getting the results I want. I'm not sure how I'm gonna lift those things up. So I'm gonna try to rock it back and forth a little bit more gently. Feels like it's taking less effort to do this now. Maybe I'm just imagining that. Well, for the next step, I do want to skip forward a little bit because I did get that cylinder hone, and I want to run it down here before I move the cylinder around too much. So here it is. It was 30 bucks at Napa. These stones are kind of long, so the pivot is almost at the top of the cylinder. I'm not going to have much room to work here, but I think it should be enough to get us going. Throw a little bit of ATF on the stones here, get them nice and wet. Well, the cylinder wall isn't looking too good even after a quick hone, and the lifters aren't moving too freely. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot I can do about that without pulling the entire drivetrain out and kind of overhauling the engine. I'm not going to do that right now. This is supposed to be a parts car. It's supposed to be a get it running and see if it'll work. So I'm going to try to keep gently moving those pistons back and forth. Worst case scenario, if the timing gears strip out, that's something that you can readily buy timing gears for these engines. So that would be something that just put it aside, wait to build the engine as it should be built for doing fun stuff. So we're going to go forward as it is and see if we can break her loose with the wood. I've got good news. 6 of the lifters have come out and they don't look too bad to me. The bad news is that if I look at the cam in there, the camshaft, can we see this? The camshaft has a little spot of rust on it under there. It doesn't look too much different on the other holes. So I'm kind of concerned here that the camshaft itself might be slightly corroded. I don't want rust pits on the camshaft, but this just does not bode too well. So the 6th one here is kind of it's moving, but it's being kind of difficult. Oh, there we go. I am able to move the engine over a little bit more now, so I'm just working it back and forth. I'm not whacking on it too hard, but I'm trying to get it a little bit further every time. I decided to do a little more honing, and you can see now how bad that rust is on here. Even up to the edge where the rings land. Yeah, it's pretty nasty. The hone, unfortunately, is putting more pressure on the top of the cylinder than the bottom, so I really should be doing this with the piston out. Alright, I have pounded this thing back and forth like a millimeter at a time. Enough, and now I'm in 4th gear. Too much, okay. So I got a mark on the balance shaft so I know how far I'm going to. But with a fresh spray of PB Blaster, I'm going to try to go a full revolution here. I think we do still have a couple stuck lifters here. Right there. That would make sense because as the cam goes around, it's going to try to push ones up that weren't being pushed up before. I'll go backward here. See how that goes. That's half a revolution. That's one full revolution. Let's go half, full. Half revolution, full revolution. The engine is freed up now. That lifter moves, lifter moves, lifter moves, that moves, 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 and This one's kind of stuck. It might need a little hand in here. Not sure exactly what's going to be the right option for this, but I'm going to go with channel lock end. Alright, that one will move. This might have been the one that was sticking. But it is, it's reluctant, but it'll go. Sweet. Well, I'm super happy about that. This thing actually turns over all the way. We do have one lifter that still doesn't quite like its life, but it's going to move enough to run the engine and get the lubrication going in there. So I still have a lot of gunk on here and now pieces of wood. So I'm going to go through with, wipe all the cylinders out with a rag. Then I'm going to go and shop back everything up. Then I have to go and get all these gaskets off. We got to get gaskets off this. We got to get all the gasket material off the heads and clean up the heads because the gasket set is coming tomorrow. Gasket surfaces are cleaned up here. We got our heads cleaned up. Well enough to put them back together. I'm gonna blow some gunk out of them too, but all the gasket stuff is off of them. Time to pull this carburetor off of the intake manifold. That'll allow us to get our last manifold bolt out of here as well. Tonight I want to get the head intake manifold, and we'll also set the top dead center so when we time the engine it'll be easier to keep track of. Only the Germans would use an 11 mil nut, right? Oh, interesting, there's a little washer in there. I don't think mine has a washer. When I say mine, I mean my burgundy one. I still kind of consider this Carrie's car, even though he's not with us anymore. I never got to meet the guy, but I've heard a lot about him, and he sounds like a really cool guy. There we go. The Ford one-barrel carburetor found on many later Saab V4s. A POS, not a great carburetor. I have a Weber to go on mine, but should be able to clean this up, and I think I can get it to run on it. We'll see. Back on this side we have a metal gasket, emissions spacer, and this is the other metal spacer. This thing is really gross. The way they designed these basically is little pockets of pockets to catch all the gunk that falls off anything near the engine. So they get really disgusting really quickly. Look at that. I didn't even know there was a hole there. It was just filled with dirt. Like it's literally dirt. Where did it come from? What does it want?
What does he want?
Dirt robot, dirt robot. Well, unfortunately, that's about as good as it's going to get for my first degreasing session here, and I scrubbed it too, even with a brass brush, and there's still huge pieces that are stuck in there. Bottom looks pretty good, but that's all it's going to get. And over here, we have these cylinder heads. I washed those down a little bit with some brake cleaner, and now it's time for gaskets. I got this gasket set from Ford V4 Parts out of Aberdeen, South Dakota. Came in a couple days. It was pretty quick for me in Minnesota here, so we're going to pop this open, get the cylinder head gaskets out, and get that laid on the engine. Let's see, I almost forgot. I want to put this thing at top dead center on number 1, so I'm going to just run it out, and that's about where it wants to be. I did have to scrub the gunk off the timing marks, so here's TDC, here's the 6 degree, and here's our mark. Now I can fine tune that timing. Whoop. And we're good to go. Yeah, that's definitely not cut right. Just gonna trim a little bit. There we go. Okay. Definitely a tight fit. And this had the lower exhaust stud actually pulled out when I pulled it off, so I put some Loctite 271 on there, Screwed it back in. Didn't quite bottom out. I bottomed out and then I pulled back a little bit in case it seized or something. Where do we do this? There. Exhaust on. Okay, that's better. Now, bring it down. Oh geez, this whole exhaust is just a pain in. Okay, we are in. Head bolt you have to watch out for is this one with the nut on the end that goes in the bottom left, and that'll take the ground strap for the engine. There we go. If it does run. Hope it runs. Okay, she's on. All these head bolts are the same. Neat. It's actually a Sonett block. The serial number, I'll show you. So they put these engines in 96s, 95s, and Sonnets, which are 97s. And the Sonnets got black painted blocks, and they got a serial number that ends in S. So if you have an S on that, it's an original Sonett engine. I believe this is the original engine to the car. No reason to not believe that. And unfortunately, the block on my Burgundy one was a sedan block from a 96 or a 95. Just they're pretty much the same. I think valve springs were the only change, but it's neat to have one with a matching engine, one owner car and all that stuff, even though the chassis is in really bad condition. Now if you have a V4 Saab and you don't have the service manual, go just Google it. It's online. Just Google V4 Saab service manual. And this goes to 40 foot-pounds first, 50 second, and 68 third. Alright, all torqued up. It's the day after Valentine's Day and I'm single, so I spent it with this car, but I want to give you a cute story about this car. So the first owner, Kerry, got married and he owned this, and this is his normal car. So as the honeymoon, they went out on a road trip to the US and did a bunch of TSD rallies across the country with the SCCA. And I just think it's so cool to have a piece of a story of the history of this car, and you can imagine the kind of memories and stories that they created there. Unfortunately, Kerry is no longer with us. I never met the guy, but I've heard great stories, and just it's really cool to kind of connect those memories with this car and pass them on a little bit. Alright, that's easier than I thought it was. This has a slot sideways here that interacts with the protruding part of the cylinder head gasket here. So that as long as those match up, you're good. And you can see that this is a wider radius, and that goes around the distributor, and this is a tighter radius, and that goes around basically nothing. Oop. Done and done. Yet again, I find a tiny little piece of black plastic. I don't know what happened in this engine, but I found a ton of them actually. Like a substantial black piece of plastic item that got into this engine, because I found pieces like in both cylinder heads, and I think even in the lifter valley. So yeah, reminder, if you drop something in your engine, like take it apart, get it out. It was super weird. But I'm throwing the push rods back in. I had those sitting in the line, so they're all in the right place. And oh man, these are just disgusting. But I'm putting a little dab of oil on the end before I stick them in, and that's about it. Carburetor disassembly video number 17. Action. Wow, it's actually really clean inside. Aside from a little dust. Automatic choke housing looks fine. Nice and clean in there. Had an issue with the throttle plate being stuck here, so I'm hoping that will free up. If this frees up and the choke plate frees up, then we're good to go, but they don't look too good. It's a shame because the entire inside of the carburetor looks beautiful. It's just got a little dirt in it, so it looks like it was obviously run on 80s gas, which didn't have probably the ethanol, and it looks like he actually may have run it out of gas before parking it, which is excellent news. I'm going to pop this thing in the ultrasonic. We'll get it bubbling for a while and see if it'll clean up a little bit. The carburetor parts have been through the ultrasonic cleaner a couple times, and I think they cleaned up pretty well. There's still some gunk on them. This one's got a little bit of aluminum corrosion coming out now that it's been through some stuff, but I think next time I'll just use Dawn. This one I used Purple Power and Dawn afterward, but I think Purple Power is a little bit too aggressive for the aluminum. Anyway, we will put this stuff together. I'm still not going to try to pull the needle and seat out of there. The choke still works. The throttle does not, so I got to work on getting that thing unstuck. If I can get the throttle unstuck, I can do the rest, but I still have not broken my carb kit in case I can't get it to work. And there we go. I did not manage to get the float out, so I did test it. I blew in here, and it did operate on my breath pressure. The linkage for the choke is kind of hard to line up, but I checked the manual. It works pretty well. I did get the throttle freed up here, and it's okay, but it tends to kind of sometimes sticks on full throttle. Looks like with the choke there, it kind of interferes, so it should not be able to get to full throttle without the choke fully open. It's looking pretty good. I'm going to set this aside until I get the rest of the engine put together. Now that the engine's pretty much put back together, I'm going to start putting the valve train back on, and these are the rockers. The shafts don't actually look in that bad a condition, considering that they are a little rusty, but they don't look badly worn or anything from what I can see. So we're going to put these things in and try to line them up to the push rods that I threw in before. I did put oil in the lifters and in the top of the push rods before I put them back in. I put the push rods in the same place, so we theoretically should not have to do any valve adjustment. Feels like a lot. Okay. Everything's getting to be where it wants to be, so I think it's time to drain the ATF out of the crankcase. We can put a new filter on it. This is a 1348, well, Pro Select version. And we got some Valvoline VR1 in 2050. I would normally run 1040 or even 1030 in these, but that was a 5-quart and it was cheaper. So, yeah, let's go ahead, see how it looks in there. Alright, got a little bit of oil residue in there, but overall, pretty good. I probably did not need to go and do the ATF flush, but it made me feel good because these engines do not grow on trees, and we like to save every single one we can. Alright, let's pour some oil in it. Going real slow. This 2050 is no joke, is it? I would just dump it in, but I'm afraid it's gonna just drip down the side of the engine. Now that there's actual oil in the engine, I can prime that oil pump once more, double check that there's oil coming up to the rocker shafts here, which is the top part of the oil system, and we will move on to putting on the carburetor and timing the engine. That's a great example of why you don't want to run that thick summer oil in the winter or when it's cold out, and why multi-viscosity oils are great, because 2050, you know, 20 is pretty close to the high end of 1030, so it's almost like running a single weight oil in the fall. And here it's 55 degrees in here. Anyway, I got some new plugs. Probably could try running these old ones, but what's the point? I'll tell you what, putting that exhaust on is pretty much impossible unless you remove the oil filter and use two crow's foot wrenches, a 15 and a 17 mil. But it's possible. It just, oh man, it's a pain in the butt. They did not design this engine to go in this car. It's kind of like buying an engine swapped kit car from the factory. It's kind of what working on this car feels like. Now, I found this in the engine bay. So, Saab people, tell me what that is, because I am unfamiliar. With the exhaust on, we can throw the valve covers on. Done. You may recall when I was driving my Sonett at the Ojibwe Forest Rally, I was volunteering there. In 2022, my distributor failed in the middle of nowhere, like 20 miles away from the nearest building or something. So I ended up having to get my distributor rebuilt. This is rebuilt from, Jack Ashcraft rebuilt this. The one from this green Sonett actually went into my burgundy car. So I know that distributor was fully functional, old points, old rotor, everything. So I'm not cheating by putting a reman distributor in here. So I'm going to pop this thing in. There are specific instructions on how to clock this thing so that it doesn't hit things, because this the vacuum advance is different on the reman ones than original, and even just generally this engine is set up stupid, so it's kind of hard to install it. So I'm going to give this a shot here, go through the instructions. To install the distributor, the Ashcrafts, both Mark and Jack, give you the nice instructions that go with it to show you how to do it. We're going to follow these, and I mean, I've done this many times, but we'll just go through it real quick. I am at top dead center on a stroke. I'm not sure which stroke it is, but I'm going to rotate the engine over, and we should see, as the engine rotates forward, should see the intake opening. So as it passes top dead center on number 1 for firing, we should see the exhaust closing and the intake opening shortly afterward. That is the rocking motion. Balance shaft is pointed the right way. Okay, so that's our intake opening, so that means that number 1 is on the firing stroke. And our lines are lined up again. So we can throw that valve cover back on. I got lucky, this thing was rotated correctly, and we will continue with the installation. Alright, see what's happening is this thing isn't bottoming out all the way, so we need to look at the oil pump shaft there. The oil pump driver is down there. That's going to need to be just slightly twisted. Here's what's going on. We got the notch here, so that's going to be the rotor pointing that way. Got our notch in the body here, so we can see it's lined up about TDC. So if I want to advance the timing, I'm going to go this way, which gives us room until the condenser hits the intake manifold bolt or nut. And if I want to retard it, which I don't want to do, it only goes a little bit. So this is about where I want it, I believe. We're going to start at around the 0 there and see if we can get this thing to fire off. The layout here is, if you imagine these as 4 cylinders, we have 4 cylinders here. We take these, swap them. We take these, swap them. That's the easy way to think about it. I'm going to put my number 1 on first, because it's got the elbow there. Upon further inspection, it appears that the O'Reilly's kit is the same useless crap that they sell at Napa. So they don't have the 90-degree angle on the number 1 plug, which is really important with these engines because you get like this much space. Anyway, I'm going to be installing the old wire up there, because it looks like this has been modified as well. I don't think that Mallory would have put an off-color one on there. It's not exactly how I want it, but I think it'll work. Let's move on to the carburetor. What else do we have to hook up here? The PCV valve is here. It usually goes into this valve cover. There's usually a deceleration valve here that is plugged off, and this is part of that modification. We have a vent here that goes into the air cleaner usually. The air cleaner looks like the Star Trek Enterprise with the two tubes coming out the back. We have a fuel inlet, fuel overflow, our mixture screw, idle screw. This is the vacuum advance that goes up to the distributor, and that goes to the radiator. We don't have a radiator installed right now. I'm not going to put one in for this Will It Run video. I almost forgot to mention the fuel pump, and I don't know if there's any fuel in the tank, but we're going to find out. Oh, lovely. The fuel hose actually cracked. Fuel pump looks like it's been oil coated and it's not rusty, but the diaphragm is probably bad in there. I think we could probably run it on that, but I wouldn't drive it. Alright, I think it's time to turn this thing over. And first I want to check static timing, then I want to give it some fuel and see if it'll run. But the battery's supposed to be in the trunk, so I didn't want to throw a battery back there. I did some custom stuff in here for safety so we can pull the leads off if we need to. I'll show you what's going on. The starter is way down there, and with great difficulty I was able to add this battery cable. This goes up. I got it clamped to the crossbar radiator overflow, and then I bolted that to a jumper cable. So that's for the timing light. So the jumper cable goes down. I got it secured here and there, and then that's on the air cleaner support. So I can take that down. I can hook it up to the truck battery down here. I just got that charged, and I think it's going to be okay as long as this ground holds, which it's kind of sketchy. I might have to take somewhere else, but as long as we can get a ground here, I think this will work. Let's give it a shot. Oh, I also unplugged the main light relay here because these things are nasty, and I don't want to have any kind of short circuits in there. So we should have something going on with, yep, we got ground on the engine. I don't see any smoke. I don't smell any smoke. Don't know if I'm on the right contact. Doesn't appear so. Since we got the car stuff's moved around a little bit, I can't seem to locate the key, so we're going to try to hotwire this because I don't feel like I want to go search for the key right now. So I got the Lone Wolf set on the starter. I think it's the pin on the top. If it's not that, we'll have to try a different location, but there are only 3 points of contact, so yeah.
Okay, we need a connector from here to power.
Alright. This should do it. Ooh.
Bendix isn't going out, huh?
No. Golly, wish the Bendix would engage. Well, we are unhooked. I'm going to have to pull the starter off of this, I think, and clean it out a little bit. Probably put it back. I was really hoping to get this car running today, and it's just not happening. Sometimes it do be like that. I have to admit, I've never taken a starter out of a Sonett without the engine being out of the car. There's a nut way up there, so I have to get an extension way in there. I'll mess around with it and see how I can do it. Well, the starter is away from the bell housing here, but the solenoid is hitting the engine mount bracket. I don't think there's any way for me to not remove the engine mount bracket, so we're going to go ahead with that now, I guess. Great. Oh, that's easy. Should be able to get the starter out now. Starter out. This thing is entirely disgusting. Completely covered in oil and gunk. Much better, much better. Bendix works. So why is it spinning and not sending it out? Oh, so we need power to the ignition switch from the little... You did.
Thrown out.
Yep, works. Well, with about a 2-foot long extension, now I can go in without the engine mount bracket there, get on that nut, and tie it up a lot easier. I got the starter back on. I found that for that bottom bolt, you can actually get a about 2-foot extension with a 14 mil socket, and that'll go underneath the starter, and you can get to that from the front, so you don't have to crawl under it. Theoretically, I think you could change the starter on the side of the road or a parking lot, but wouldn't recommend it. Alright, I think we have everything hooked up correctly here. Let's see if this thing will, see if it's in neutral. It was not. Crazy what happens when you wire the starter wiring up right. Not too happy about its life, but it's cranking. I'm going to try to hook up this coil here. We'll give the battery a little charger juice and see if we can get a quick fire. Get some in the... Just need some more battery. Just fried the distributor. Fuck. I don't know what's fucking happening in there, but I don't like it. Well, I blew up the points this morning, hooking the coil up backward. But I looked at them, and I'm hoping that it doesn't arc in there too bad. I think I might be able to still use it a little bit. I don't have a spare set of points, so we're going to just check for spark on here and see if I have anything before I go forward. We found the key, but the key, it won't fit in the ignition, so I'm going to have to keep hot wiring it. Power. Power. That's inside the wire doing that, so not ideal. No power to the points. Okay, we gotta figure this point situation out. Well, there's our main problem. The wire was a kind of a fuse this morning, and it just completely didn't work. So I'm gonna see if I can maybe put a butt connector on this and shrink tubing, and maybe I can get this to work tonight. I don't know. Well, it's too short, and it rides on the top a little bit, but I'm hoping it'll get it to run. I can replace the contact set later. What a dumb, stupid thing I did this morning. What the hell am I thinking? Let's crank this thing again. We have spark. Awesome. Alright, somehow I'm out of both fuel and starting fluid, so we're going to give it a quick spurt of throttle body cleaner, and it's got a little fuel in the carb. God. Yeah, I think I need to hook this battery up in the trunk and run it through the original battery cables. This setup here just isn't working, and I think the culprit is this one, trying to get a good ground. I was able to scare up a very short negative battery cable. We got a previous resident. I hope he found peace in the afterlife, and I put some aux guard on that ground on the chassis there. I also brushed it off a little bit. Hopefully that makes a good contact with being cleaned up a little bit with the goop. Once I turn this battery on, it's going to be contacting the points there, so I don't want to have it on too long, but I got this little cutoff switch to make sure that I can preserve those as long as possible. Cranks faster. Oh, that was something. Got a little smoke coming over here. I'm not sure what's going on, but hope it's not the alternator. By the way, will it run? I think it will. For a limited time only, we're going to have these free stickers with any purchase on my website. Go over there, sealbeamrally.team, get yourself a free sticker. Just mention the video. Ignition is on, battery's on. Come on, Chet. You can do it. Better give that starter a rest. Oh, it's so close. Let me get a little gas in the squirter. I put a little bit of PB Blaster in there too. Let's make this the one.
Let's make this the one.
So close, come on. So close. Have to put a battery charger on it, get a little more juice here. I think it's so close, it's just barely popping. Battery's not quite charged back up, but I can't help myself. See if this will do anything. Jeez. Oh, it's like this close. I swear. Oh man, I think if I had some starting fluid or something it would actually work, but I don't. Woo! First run, what's up? Alright. It only went for a little bit. Let's open the garage door now. Not gonna do it again? Come on. Jeez. You're not gonna believe what's on the floor back here. Maybe you will. Look at that gunk. I think they just put in a glass pack. It's a pretty common modification for the Sonnets back in the day. Pretty loud exhaust, but I don't think there's much left of it either, so at least we know there's nothing clogging the exhaust. Alright, I'm gonna take another look at this thing. I'm gonna see if I can hook up a fuel bottle, let it suck a little fuel up as it cranks, maybe get it to run a little bit longer. Want to get it to run at least a couple seconds for you. Alright, we got it hooked up again. The hose on top has been primed up with some fuel. I stuck the bottom hose up at the inlet of the fuel pump into a bucket. Let's see if this will do anything. Hopefully it'll pull some fuel. Alright, it's been another half hour. Battery is not fully charged yet, but I just can't wait. So let's give this thing a shot. Close. Come on. Just not doing a whole lot, is it? Oh, it's straight up pumping fuel into the crankcase here. Damn it. So the fuel pump really is just total junk. It's not pumping into the carburetor. It's just pumping straight into the crankcase. I'm going to have to drain the oil out of this thing, refill it, and we will try again. I put in a couple quarts of the VR1 2050. I couldn't find any other good stuff, so I put in a couple quarts of 530 Pennzoil conventional, and then 1 quart of Napa 1040 conventional. The good news is that hopefully there will be a less viscous oil mixture in the engine. I know this thing is going to have to be gone over anyway. Running it for a couple minutes is not going to do serious engine damage without zinc. So we're going to try it again. Jeez. I hope it spins over with the less viscous oil. Let's just say that. We're going to give her a shot. I'm going to set the idle screw so it holds a high idle. Hopefully make it a little bit easier to do this with multiple hands. Yeah! Woohoo! She goes! Let's give it a little bit more here. Okay, I'm gonna gonna fill the bowl hopefully with some decent fuel here. See if we'll get it to run for more than a couple seconds. It's like deafeningly loud. One more. Come on. Now we're losing our battery here. All right. Oh, let's turn this thing off. I think that's it. We got this thing to run after 37 years. Obviously, the carburetor is not quite working right. The fuel pump doesn't work. I'm just not going to put the time and money and expense into this thing to get it to sit here and idle. It has no cooling system. I mean, it's just... the whole engine needs to be taken apart, rebored. The cam needs to be probably reground. There's rust in here that is making the engine not a viable candidate for just running and sitting here, and it's just not worth it. Anyway, we are going to pack this thing up a little bit and get it out of the garage. I have bad news. I don't think this is a savable vehicle. I'll show you the rust here. And just looking at this, probably the body is probably going to have to come off. The rear body and everything just being taken down all the way, and just somebody's. If you wanted to get this back on the road, you'd have to cut out large sections of the monocoque chassis to repair it. And unfortunately, that's kind of the Achilles heel of these Sonnets, is that the fiberglass body will last forever. The engine is pretty robust, and that'll continue to run for a long time. But the chassis itself rusts out, and there's not a real good solution to it yet. So we're gonna push it out. We're gonna try to figure out what to do with it. At worst, it's a parts car that has a lot of good usable parts, including the starter, transmission, CV axles, all that kind of stuff, full set of wheels. And the body itself is actually a little bit better condition, I think, than my purple Sonnet. So if you're one of these people in the comment section of the Saab group who's saying that it's such a shame that I shouldn't be using this way, and you want to get this thing back on the road, if you want to go and do the metal work and put this chassis back together, shoot me an email, sealbeamrallyteam@gmail. Otherwise, thanks for watching, appreciate it, and get on over to get one of those free stickers, because I am not listing those for sale. The only way to get one is to go buy something else and put it in the notes that you want a Will It Run Sonnet sticker. Next video, I got some pretty cool stuff coming up. I'm very excited about it, and I think you will be too. Come on over, I'll see you then, press on. I didn't know where to put this in the video, so I'm just putting this in as an optional extra. It's really cool that I got a bunch of stuff with this car, and I wanted to go through real quick. In case anyone's curious, this is the original service manual. They had a Saab 95-96 manual, and they had the Sonnet supplement, so I believe this is just the supplement for Sonnet specific things, like all the cooling system and stuff and fuel system are different for the Sonnet, and has wiring diagrams which aren't all that great, but they're there. Just a really nice piece to have. Unfortunately, there's the chassis, so you can see how weak this chassis is. If you have rust up here at the front of the rockers, that chassis has nothing to go off of, so the whole thing's about to split apart on that car. Yeah, unfortunately the back end has got some coffee or something on it, but you can see part number, and they bought it from a dealer. It's pretty cool. Got the climber. This is kind of like the Haynes manual of Saab's, and that's got a bunch of cool stuff as well. Great pictures. Back when they would actually take pictures and airbrush things, or hand draw diagrams of stuff. So just awesome. I love the old manuals. And that covers the 99 as well, which is a completely different chassis than the V4s. We have an original owner's manual here with the snaps. Ingrid has an owner's manual as well, but that one's in much worse condition. This one's pretty nice, and it has address information and stuff too in there, I guess, in case it got lost. Service intervals, really nice. I mean, back when they put wiring diagrams in the owner's manuals. And then the real motherlode here is all of the paperwork with the car, and it comes from the day it was bought. This is radio information. Horvath Motors Incorporated, 857 Grand Avenue, St. Paul. Yeah, imported through Baltimore, Maryland. Colors emerald green. Here's the serial number 501. So we can see that it got what standard is everything. The only option that they got was the AM/FM radio, which is in really good condition there. Factory undercoating, okay, sure. Dual exhaust system went away at some point, went to a single. I think it has an MSS exhaust on it. Anyway, cool little 99 in the corner. Horvath Motors, they had a Renault, Peugeot, Lamborghini. Yeah, very cool. Date 1/27/1973. So this is the delivery receipt for the car. You can see that the total cash delivered price is $4,300. I'm so jealous. Oh my god. Dealer prep was $55. All right, pre-delivery service record. Cool little warranty card from Saab Scania. No postage necessary. Look at the font there. They used cool fonts back then. This is Microgramma, the same font I used for the Seal Beam logo. Here's a really cool bank envelope here. Nice old pen drawing. Chicago Lake State Bank. Where do you stand, where do you fall on drunk driving? So you can pull this up and down in the bottom, and it shows you if you've had, let's say, 5 ounces of whiskey, then you and you weigh, let's say I weigh 150 pounds, then I'm at 0.11 blood alcohol content. So, interesting. And that was made by Minnesota, state of Minnesota. Hennepin County Alcohol Safety Action Project. Really neat. I think it's all Helvetica. Some more Helvetica here, I think. I don't know. Somebody tell me. Another drunk driving thing. Cool little illustration there. Let me know if you want to see scanned versions of these, because I'm down, but it takes time. This is a book that a friend of mine, Tim, is going to sell me. He has a couple of those, so that's one I'd like to look at. Saab Sonett Club. So there's a sticker on the side of the car for the Saab Sonett Club. Fuse box. What's in the fuse box? Handwritten. Alright, some more electrical information. Tires. More tires. The steel radial Bridgestone. Alright, what's that? Some kind of bank thing from a millennium ago. I don't know. Okay, some more receipts. We got a radio repair in 1973. I mean, this is a couple weeks after they got the car. After he got the car, radio was repaired under warranty. And then a couple weeks later, let's see, adjust washers, check out radio warranty, shift boot lever. I guess the shift boot lever came up. Shift boot came off. License plate bracket. Ground problem. Short under hood. This is 1973. This is the same. It's like a couple of months after he bought it. There's an issue with the ground in the car. Knob. Headlight out. This is in August. He bought it in January. We have tighten the fender to body, adjust the door. Stuff's going wrong pretty quick in the car. There's a door clearance issue with the clamshell, the bonnet, and that's something that I think they all have. It starts to chip the body away. A little bit at that corner. I mean, this is a full tune-up. Points, plugs. Muffler repair. This is October. I mean, today you can't imagine having this many repairs on a new car. It would be warranty. Lemon Law. Exhaust hits body. Just replace the exhaust. Engine oil level just changed and low, half quart low. Bad coil wire. Let's see, it's now December. It's 11 months after he bought it. The muffler has been replaced twice. Plugs. Clutch fluid keeps going low. Replace slave cylinder. Bleed system. So how many miles did he have here? This is a lot of stuff going on. That does show evidence of a road trip, doesn't it? Needs speedometer cable and horn. They changed their name from Horvath to Baxter. 74 thermostat. I mean, there's a lot of repair going on here. Change air filter in 74. A lot of stuff going on here. Repair body, front damage. That the freewheeling on those transmissions would catch up to people. They'd forget they're in fourth gear and then come up to a stoplight, and the freewheel would catch and push the car forward into the next car, and they'd rear-end people. But hopefully that's not what happened. Gap plugs, adjust dwell and timing, adjust carb as necessary. Yep. Seized exhaust studs, sounds about right. Pedals got a little sticky in 1983, 10 years after the car was new. Repair exhaust system again. 1982, brake lights, radiator, fan belt, Hiawatha tire, used brake master cylinder, brake shoe set, brake lines, rotors turned, drums turned, overhaul brakes, $264 for a full brake job with a new master, used master. Fuses, Phoenix motors, Excelsior, tune as necessary, winterize, antifreeze flush. Maury's, they're still around. Look at the old Subaru logo. Subaru.
Hello, Subaru. Wow.
Minnetonka. Saab, Alfa Romeo, Subaru. Huge dealer chain now. Phoenix Motors. Oil gauge. Oh, the oil pressure gauge. In 1977. What is this? Cool old carbon copy. MasterCard Visa. Yeah. Did another tune-up there in 1984. Distributor. Free up advance weights. Wasn't advancing correctly. Repair starter. Diagnose, clean, repair left head. Yeah, getting into a little bit more serious repairs in the late 70s. Won't start carb problems, 1984. It's a cool logo and very 80s font. I don't even know, 1981. BP6ES, those are non-resistor plugs. I use BPR6ES on the car. $205 in 1977 for a winterize and tune-up. Check shocks, do not replace. Oh man. Order written by Tom in 1978. $71 to tighten the fan belt. Tighten backing plate, tune up, compression okay. Check. Report driver's door twisted by the wind. Check state of tune okay. State of tune okay, 78. He had this thing in like every 4 months, I think, the whole time he owned it. It's called Jamestown Exhaust System. I don't know what a Jamestown Exhaust System is. I thought he had a motorsport service kit. Lube clutch pedal. Check slave cylinder. Repair oil leak. I bet. Car overheats and runs rough in 1977. It's a 4-year-old car, overheats and runs rough. Low coolant. Caused choke to remain closed. Sounds about right. Clutch hydraulics leak. Replace clutch slave cylinder. Bleed system. The clutch hydraulics were not the best part of these cars. People have issues bleeding those slave cylinders. St. Paul store. 10W30. Custom accessory. SCCA discount is $6.52. Awesome. Wish I got that. I get that at Summit. SCCA is a Summit discount. Cool carbon copy there. Cooling system. Handwritten receipts. Saab repair manual. 1977 from Maury's Imports. That's where that came from. So he must have gone, I don't know if he moved or just decided to use a different dealer. Maybe Horvath went under. Maybe Maury's bought Horvath. That's probably what happened. The original dealer where he bought the car is no longer. It's no longer a car dealer. It's some kind of little yoga studio or something now. Has 3,000 miles left on front brake pads. Bet not the way he's driving it. Challenge accepted. Repair clutch pedal. Sticks. Yep. Rod Baxter. Here's a 76. Still has a Renault logo. I wonder when they stopped selling Renault there. I guess we sold Renaults in this country till like the late 80s. Here's the old school Saab logo. Pre-72, something like that. 1976. Battery cable end. Lots of little stuff. Nickel and diamond. They don't build them like they used to. Headlight is very dim. Tune, new Speedo cable. Sitting on the seat. I brought my own. Okay, spare tire flat, repair. If cannot repaired, let know. That's it. Okay. And then we have a bank, a card there. Saab Sonett 3. So this was sitting in a drawer for all that time. You know, for all the issues I've had getting this car started, and for all the kind of bad rust on the car, they really kept good records for it. So it's really a blessing to have all the old records and to be able to have full documentation with the car. Well, I appreciate you guys sticking around for watching this if you did, and it's just fun to go through with this old stuff. So yeah, I'll see you on the next one. Press on.